Transmitter device activated. Coordinates set for Earth 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Earth 2 podcast, your weekly exploration of the DC Comics multiverse and the legacy of their Golden Age characters through the Silver and Bronze Ages of comics. I'm Peter Watson.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back to the original weekly guide to the DC Comics multiverse, featuring the original DC Comics super team, the Justice Society of America, as we return with another issue of All-Star. And this week it's issue 66, published on the 22nd of February 1977, the day before the birth of Chris Gentry of menswear.
Wow, amazing.
Yes, little Chris, the dark-haired one that looks younger than everyone else, because he is younger than everyone else. So there we go. There's a good menswear fact. Mm-hmm. If you know Chris and you want to get him something interesting for Christmas this year, or maybe next year when he'll be, 50, you could buy him a copy of All-Star Comics numbers. Actually, maybe wait and get him it for his 66th birthday. That would be fun.
That'd be ideal. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, All-Star Comics 66. Let's have Peter tell us about the cover.
We've got the DC Bullet. Yes, it's returned. It's in the top left corner. It's a red DC Bullet. Oh, we love the DC Bullet.
Write that down on your what colour is the DC Bullet spreadsheet, listeners.
We'll be keeping a chart. Yes. All-Star Comics presents the legendary Justice Society of America. And there's no mention at all of the Super Squad. Thank goodness. 30 cents, number 66, June, production code's 30417, approved by the Comics Code Authority. And the Justice Society of America is actually a lovely giant logo. It's clear, white, curved writing on a red background, and it stands out magnificently, don't you think?
I think so. I would agree strongly. I would echo that assertion, and so on, etc.
Excellent. Good.
Phew.
Incredible action issue. As the JSA battles for Wildcat's life. And there is indeed a battle going on this cover.
No sign of Wildcat in the battle, though. That's amusing.
It's very true.
That's an outright lie from that caption. That's hilarious. Sorry. Preempting enormously.
There are floating heads of Power Girl, Star Spangled Kid, and Wildcat looking on at this battle. On the left-hand side, we have Hawkman and Dr. Fate. And they are being attacked by two villains on the right-hand side, who are the Thinker and the Icicle. Dr. Fate's casting a giant ankh, which is stopping the Thinker's mental blast coming off of his thinking cap, and also the Icicle's cold blast coming off of his ice gun. My goodness. In the background, there's something on fire. Can't quite tell what it is. Is it a city? Is it a factory? Is it just a fire? Who knows? And the unconscious form of the Flash is on the ground, in between the heroes and the villains. Oh my goodness. It's drama.
Interesting.
And this cover is signed off by Rich Buckler and Jack Abel.
Jack Abel. Interesting.
Yes.
I, as we speak, listeners, hours ago received a page of art that's credited to being inked by Jack Abel. Go and look at my Instagram if you want to look at that. Yes, I like this cover. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that we have a defined, clear Justice Society logo. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that they've binned the Super Squad rubbish. I'm glad that that's gone. This logo is still used regularly to this day.
Yes.
The floating heads is very Marvel, isn't it?
It is.
Floating heads looking on as something is happening is very Marvel. There's lots of Avengers issues around this period that do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Hawkman looks a bit Joe Kubert to me.
Oh, yes, I can see that.
Do you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without a doubt.
It's interesting. Nice to see a bit of Rich Buckler. I know he gets a bit of a slagging for being a copyist, but I'm a big fan, so it's good to see.
Yeah, Hawkman's definitely giving us the gun show as he's landing here.
Yes.
He's got his arms up and flexing away. That's quite fun. I like that. Weirdly, the caption looks wrong because obviously you've got Wildcat looking on as one of the floating heads.
Yes.
And it's the battle for Wildcat's life, but you've got the Flash lying comatose in front of everyone.
Yeah.
So it kind of implies it's the other way around.
Yeah, Incredible Action Issue is the JSA battles for the Flash's life, or maybe, given some of the events, maybe Hourman's life. I don't know. It's a little,
We'll dive into it and find out.
We shall. Right, we begin with a very dynamic opening splash page, which, as you'd expect, has some scene-setting captioning.
Earth 2, a world much like our own, yet slightly different. There, young and old have joined forces to battle evil. The newest heroes joining the greatest heroes of the Golden Age in the Justice Society of America. And inside their headquarters, pandemonium reigns.
Pandemonium, of course, is the name of the Ninth Doctor story from Big Finish that was released last week as we record.
My goodness.
I haven't listened to it yet. Have you? Write to fairplay73@hotmail.com and let me know. Last issue, of course, finished with the heroes watching Vandal Savage disappearing into some circular rings and then being taken away, and Hourman shooting Wildcat, seemingly under the control of the icicles. Obviously, things have moved on, because what we see in HQ is Hawkman, Star Spangled Kid, Power Girl, and the Flash bearing down towards the forms of Brainwave, the Wizard, the Icicle, and the Thinker. What's going on? Hawkman is saying,
"Heads up, team. I don't know how, but the Injustice Society has taken over our HQ.
And the Icicle replies,
And next we're going to take your lives."
Then the captioning returns.
Feel like you've come in the middle of things, reader? You have. But it's just our way of letting you know that
Injustice strikes twice. And then we get a little scroll caption with the credits for this issue.
Paul Levitz, writer. Joe Staton and Bob Layton, artists. Liz Berube, colourist. No mention of letter in this one.
Nice to see at the bottom of this page. Mention of Jeanette Kahn as publisher, Joe Orlando's managing editor, Vince Coletta, art director, Jack Adler, vice president production, Paul Levis, editorial coordinator, Saul Harrison, president, and Arthur Gutierrez, treasurer. And yes, this is cover dated May to June 1977. We are progressing. That does not give you the illusion we aren't progressing into 1977 that much. There are still a few more stories from 1976 to go.
Oh, yes.
As we may have said last time, there are some more developments for the Icicle which we have to get in advance of, so we're doing this one next. First panel of page 2, the Icicle fires his gun at Hawkman, freezing him solid and ice as he says,
"You thought we were finished when you defeated Solomon Grundy and the Fiddler. But you were wrong, heroes. Dead wrong."
And as Hawkman is caught in the cold, he exclaims,
"What?"
Power Girl, looking up, seeing all this, says, "If you think I'm going to let you do that to Hawkman, Icicle, you haven't been doing your homework. The Justice Society takes care of its own." And she punches with a
Quam!
As just as Hawkman starts to tip and fall out of the air, she shatters the ice, reviving him. Phew! Star Spangled Kid down the ground yells,
We're not alone in that, Power Girl. The Wizard has a lightning blast aimed right at you."
Yes, and we see the Wizard gesturing with his wand, and a lightning bolt cracking out the air, arcing towards Power Girl, as the Star Spangled Kid, surrounded in a golden aura, presumably caused by his cosmic converter belt, leaps up saying,
"Duck, and I'll try and block it."
Power Girl gets in way of the lightning bolt and says, "No way, kid, I was his target, and I'll take the fall." And she gets zapped as Sylvester yells,
"Power Girl!"
and she plummets. A caption returns as the Star Spangled Kid swoops after her.
Like a blazing comet wrenched from the sky, the Star Spangled Kid swoops down to catch the Kryptonian crime fighter before she crashes to the ground. His face twisted in a grim mask of concern for a fallen teammate, or something more.
Or maybe his tights have got twisted. Next panel, Brainwave grapples with Hawkman as the Thinker zaps the Flash, who's surrounding a golden aura. Jay says,
"Can't move. Thinker's mental energy blast paralyzing me."
In the background we see the Star Spangled Kid laying Power Girl out on the floor as the Thinker says, "Don't look to your comrades for help, old enemy. We have you all well in hand."
"Not for long. You'll never hold us."
And then we cut to the Wizard, who's gesturing again as he says,
"I'm afraid I must agree with the Flash. Fellow Society members, we have proved our strength. Is it not time I used my magic to spirit us away?"
"A good thought, friend Wizard," says the Thinker as Hawkman leaps towards him. Brainwave seems to be running away. That tussle didn't last for long. Icicle then chips in with,
"As chairman of the Injustice Society, I agree, and I leave you JSAs with this challenge. We have captured Hourman and Wildcat. You must battle us for their lives at places of our choosing. The land of frozen gold and the Isle of the ever-burning flame."
And as J-Flash looks on, another golden aura seems to burst from the ground, and Thinker, Icicle, Wizard and Brainwave vanish. We then get a cutaway shot to Hourman and Wildcat lying stretched out on the ground, unconscious by the looks of things, as the Icicle's voice, in more sort of jaggedy speech bubbles, continues.
"There you may struggle to save your partner's lives, and perish in the attempt. And when you do, we shall be avenged for the decades of imprisonment we have suffered at your hands."
Yes, and for the slow of thinking, J-Flash handily recaps everything that's just happened in the previous two panels.
"Thinker, Icicle, Wizard, Brainwave, they're all gone. Teleported away, leaving only an image of Hourman and Wildcat for us as proof."
An image which leaves no doubt that the heroes are indeed captives of their deadliest foes. and that their lives may end as abruptly as the image fades from the room.
Yes, the image does indeed fade away. We see Power Girl starting to recover, rubbing her head. She says, "Phew, I feel like I was run over by a truck," as Star Spangled Kid says.
We were PG, and its license plate spelled Injustice Society.
Now, it looks as though Jay Garrick is fixing his underpants in this next panel as he stands with Hawkman, and Hawkman says,
I knew this was going to happen. After all my years of crime fighting, I should have learned to trust my hunches.
And now, reader, all this will be made clear to you as we turn back the clock to events immediately preceding page 1, as the JSA returned home from their last adventure.
Yes, we see Superman, Hawkman, Power Girl, Star Spangled Kid and the Flash all sort of caught up in a twisty tornado type effect, as Superman is saying, "I can't understand why the Shining Knight stayed in Camelot, gave up on the 20th century. Who cares, cousin, says PG. That's just one less male superhero for me to compete with. Hawkman says,
I'm more worried by Hourman's failure to use the time vortex to summon us back from the past.
As the Flash says,
He probably couldn't find us, Hawkman. When you four used Vandal Savage's space warp to return to Camelot, our signal to Hourman was long overdue.
And we can see they're now sort of materialising outside the JSA headquarters. We can see a couple of dustbins on the street, so take a drink. And Soups replies to what Jay said here when he says, "And while we're on the subject of overdue matters, my friends, let me remind you that I have resigned from the JSA, and that is effective now."
But surely, Superman, you'd reconsider.
Jay is cut off by Soups, who turns to his cousin and says, "No, if you require my aid, you need only call, but the old must make room for the young, and my cousin has earned the right to stand in my shadow no more." Puts his hands on Power Girl's shoulders as she says, "Well, what can I say to..." And then Soups takes his leave, saying, "Ha ha ha, say nothing, but farewell." And as he jumps away, the caption reads,
With that, the grey-haired Guardian leaped off, clearing the top of the city's building with a single bound, while the rest of the Justice Society turned to enter their brownstone headquarters building, with the Flash, as always, leading the way, vibrating through the closed door, only to be hurled back microseconds later.
And indeed, it looks as though the front doors exploded. Jay goes flying back as Hawkman says,
Flash, I was right, there is some kind of trouble inside.
What's he talking about there? Right about what?
It's Hawkman.
What? He hasn't said anything. Anyway, maybe he's worried about Hourman, that's what it is. Power Girl looks on in astonishment as the Flash goes flying. Hawkman catches the Flash as Power Girl says, "The only trouble around here, Hawkman, is going to happen to the clowns who totaled the Flash."
Our special self-sealing entrance is already closed up again. No way to tell what's waiting for us in the other side of the door,
says Hawk as he catches Jay, helpfully. Power Girl steps forward, saying, "Then why don't we just go through the wall and surprise our unknown guests? Follow me!" And she punched a hole through the wall. Jay thankfully seems to be recovering. You can see him putting his helmet on as he, Star Spangled Kid and Hawkman follow Power Girl into the headquarters, where they are greeted by, surprise, surprise, Brainwave, the Wizard, the Thinker, and the Icicle. Hawkman flying in says,
Brainwave, with 3 more of our old foes.
and we see Brainwave, and this is the Brainwave in the red uniform with the yellow squiggly line in his chest and the blue tights and the weird goggly eyes, who says, "Brainwave bids you welcome, heroes. Welcome home. Ha ha ha."
Heads up, team. I don't know how, but the Injustice Society has taken over our HQ.
And Icicle says in reply to that,
And next, we're taking your lives.
Flash is kind of puzzled. He says,
But our man was on guard duty.
then the Wizard waves his wand at them all, saying,
No longer. Now he is our helpless prisoner.
and as Hawkman flies towards them, the little ripply flashback effect ends as a caption reads,
This is where we came in, reader, and where we fade out to return to the present.
And indeed, in the present, we see Hawkman operating some controls in the lab as the Flash, Power Girl, and SSK stand behind him. Flipping switches and looking at screens, Hawkman says,
The computer log confirms the kidnapping of Hourman and Wildcat. It monitored both events.
and a very sarcastic-sounding Star Spangled Kid says,
Wonderful. I don't suppose anyone programmed it to send out an alarm, did they? Or does it just sit there and wait to be asked if something's gone wrong? No computer can exercise human judgment, kid. That's why there's still a difference between men and machines. But even a giant databank can still be useful, as long as you ask it the right questions.
And looking at a map of the world, Carter continues,
For example, it just translated the Icicle's cryptic challenge into 2 concrete locations. Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, and an island in the United Arab Emirates. 2 major oil processing plants.
He turns to the Star-Spangled Kid, whose underpants have turned white for some reason. I'm obsessed with tights and underpants this week, listeners. That's a look into the dark regions of my mind. Turns to Sylvester and says,
Since this indicates a connection with one of the giant oil companies, we'd better divide our strength carefully. Kid, you and I will go to Prudhoe Bay, while Flash and Power Girl head for Arabia. That may balance our strengths, Hawkman, but it's teamwork that counts. And Power Girl and I make the best team.
And he jumps forward and lifts Power Girl off her feet and flies off, saying,
Come on, lovely lady, we have a date in Alaska.
And a very annoyed Power Girl says, Just what do you think you're doing, you romper-room Romeo? And she gets a close-up as her brows furrow and a caption reads,
Unfortunately, we must depart with that question unanswered, reader. But here is another in its stead. If hell hath no fury like a Power Girl unscorned, what of a woman who is?
And we cut to a close-up of a very angry-looking Inza Nelson. We've not seen her for a long time. She is saying, Kent Nelson, I am going to kill you if you take one more step towards that mask. We pull out to a wider shot showing Kent Nelson in his Dr. Fate gear, with an open book in front of him, not wearing the Dr. Fate mask, obviously, and Inza is holding up a crystal ball. Looks like she's going to throw at him in anger as she continues. You're my husband and I love you, but I swear I'll break your neck if you try to leave.
And as much as I love you, Inza, I can't let you stop me. Fate's crystal you hold has shown me portents of great evil loose in the world this night.
Kent, last time out you nearly died. It's taken you weeks to recover from your injuries. What will that blasted costume do to you now?
I don't know, Inza.
And to Inza's obvious dismay, she drops to the ground and buries her head. Kent Nelson puts on the helmet of Dr. Fate and continues.
But mortals are not permitted to know the ways of fate.
No, not again. And then there's an external shot of the tower in Salem as Dr. Fate flies through the wall and zooms off. And you can take a massive drink, listeners, because there is a massive green moon in the background. Gosh.
Yes.
Dustbins and moons a go-go.
Take a massive drink of Maduri.
Yes. Is that green? I don't know.
It is.
Or limeade, if you're more like me. Over the page, guess what? There's a caption.
Das Island, Abu Dhabi. The very name evokes exotic images, yet no image could do justice to reality. A tiny isle crowded with the ever-burning flame of oil plants and the fast-approaching forms of 2 superheroes.
Ah, I wonder if it's the oil plants that we saw on the cover. Let's look. Yes, it clearly is.
Aha.
Hawkman flying through the air, J-Flash speeding across the water towards land. Wonderful to see anyone from Geordie Shore whilst they're in Abu Dhabi. And as Jay is speeding across the water, he's saying,
If our teammates are imprisoned here, they must be getting a taste of hell on earth, Hawkman. I can't imagine a more unfriendly-looking place.
Then your imagination fails you, friend Flash, for there are many inhospitable realms in this universe.
And, indeed, the Wonder Wizard has arrived, prompting Hawkman to say,
Dr. Fate, what are you doing here?
My crystal showed great evil unleashed, Hawkman, and called me to your side.
Terrific. I have a feeling we're going to need all the help we can get.
We shall soon see, Hawkman, for just below...
Just below, oh my goodness, we see the Icicle and the Thinker standing next to a weird device, which is a sort of funnel, I suppose, or chimney at the top, which has Hourman chained to it as lots of pink and black smoke billow out, blowing Rex's cape in the wind. It's very, very effective. Hopefully there'll be room for it in the socials. Oh my goodness, I hope he's okay. Icicle and the Thinker, as I say, standing Icicle, arms wide, up in the air, he's yelling.
So, you finally figured out our clue, heroes. Good. We wouldn't want our man to die alone, would we, Thinker?
Captioning continues.
The charging champions are silent, concentrating on the grim tableau that greets them. The unmoving figure of our man, strapped to an infernally smoking tower that might erupt into flame at any moment.
And indeed, as J-Flash runs in, he gets zapped by the Icicle, straight off, with a caption saying,
Instead, their actions speak for them, as the Flash struggles through the same frozen energy field that held him captive before, and his companions face a gigantic flame-throwing tower animated by the Thinker.
Yes, and we see Dr. Fate and Hawkman recoiling as the Thinker gestures and his mental waves radiate out from his helmet, making this flame-throwing tower arc towards him, and he says, You don't have a chance, JSAers. I can turn every piece of equipment on this island into a deadly weapon, and they're all aimed at you.
Perhaps, mortal, but there is a difference between forging a tool and making use of it. See how little your toys mean against my power.
Yes, and we see Dr. Fate gesturing in a nice little sequence of anks coming out of his right hand as he frees Jay from the force of the icicle's blast and also diverts the path of the flame-throwing tower. Hawkman, continuing Dr. Fate's frame of thinking as he flies down and punches the Thinker, says,
Or against a good roundhouse right.
Flash, recovering at this point, says,
Stealing your lines from Wildcat, Hawkman? Watch out, he'll sue.
I think not, Flash, for though he is not here, we wage this battle for him.
And we see at this point, very like what we saw on the cover, Dr. Fate is gesturing, creating a big shield with an ank on it as Icicle fires at him. Icicle saying,
You won't flee either of your bodies, Fate. Not while I have my ice gun.
There is not enough ice in the world to stop me, fool.
Dr. Fate's dialogue provided by Eric Sayward there. We see in the next panel the Thinker tussling with Hawkman. And the Thinker, he's lost his helmet. It's gone flying. As he fights the Winged Wonder, he's saying, You made a big mistake, Hawkman. You thought getting rid of my thinking cap took me out of this fight, but you've got another think coming. Hawkman manages to right himself, though, and gets on top of the Thinker, forcing him back onto the ground as he says,
Years ago I might have believed that, Thinker, when you were young and tougher. But now you're worn out by the years of paying for your crimes. And you're finished.
And it's either an uppercut or else he strikes him in the jaw with his elbow. There's a very satisfying
Thump.
sound effect as the Thinker goes down. Hawkman gets to his feet, saying,
I see you got your man too, Fate.
Yes, for all the planning these villains have done was useless, since evil rarely has the power to justify its false pride.
We see in the next panel Hawkman and Dr. Fate freeing our man from his chimney-top prison, as Hawkman says,
I wish I had your confidence. All I see is that we got here in the nick of time, and judging by our man's condition, I'm not even sure of that.
Dr. Fate takes the full weight of our man's body in the next panels. He holds him, he says,
His breathing seems weak and laboured, but he does live.
Just the same, we'd better get him to a hospital fast.
Says Hawkman, lifting the Thinker off the ground, and as Jay shoulders the icicle, he says,
But where can we find one that'll keep his identity a safe secret, particularly in this corner of the world?
Confusingly, at the top of the next panel, Flash replies to himself when he says,
A good question, Hawkman, but easily answered. Or don't you remember, we have a friend on this side of the globe.
Yes, that's obviously a lettering error issue, that previous page. That must have all been intended for Hawkman, but we bring it as it is. Hawkman says in reply to the Flash,
That's right. Dick Grayson is the US ambassador to South Africa. And if Robin can't keep our man's secrets, no one can.
Yes, because Abu Dhabi is right next to South Africa. Dr. Fate says at this point,
Then move swiftly, my friends, for a man's life may be measured in the minutes our journey takes.
Shaky geography is always fun to read, isn't it?
Yes.
Again, I have to say it. It's like all those Marvel covers that show Tower Bridge right next to Big Ben. When they're like, 5 miles apart at least or something. Mm-hmm. Anyway, there is a slow dissolve, listeners. A caption reads,
Many things happened earlier on Earth 2 than our own globe. Superheroes began their career in the 1940s, not the 1950s. And South Africa is ruled by its native inhabitants in this year, 1977 AD. Altogether, a slightly saner world, and one in which life is held just as dearly as our own.
Yes, that's very interesting. Clear statements about apartheid there. We'll come back to that, I think. We see Dr. Fate descending outside Cape Town Hospital, holding our man, and inside we see him talking to a familiar face. A man wearing a green mask, a red tunic, and a yellow cape and yellow leggings. As we see Rex's body being wheeled away by some hospital staff in the background, Dr. Fate says to Robin,
What say the doctors, young Robin? Will he live?
He'll get the best care possible, Fate. Don't worry. And for the record, I'm not that young anymore.
Sorry, my friend. That was not meant as it sounded. But I'm afraid for Wildcat and our other comrades. And in moments like this, even my thoughts are not as clear as they need to be.
You're right, Fate. What we need is clear thinking. And I know just where to get some.
And on that cryptic comment, we shift scenes, turning to the metropolis of Robin's boyhood, Gotham City, and the now deserted studios of the Gotham Broadcasting Company, once the private kingdom of Alan Scott, the Green Lantern.
Yes, and we see Alan in full costume as GL walking through what looks like an abandoned studio. You can see some equipment that's been tipped over, some lights that have been abandoned, a couple of TV cameras on wheels, and behind him is a shaded figure in a long coat. We can't see his face at this point, but Alan is saying to him, "You were right, stranger. It's only hours after I defaulted on the mortgage payment, and they've already wiped out the work of years.
I pity you. For all your power, there is nothing you can do."
I did it all. I saved the world for them, time and time again. I gave them all my energies, all my strength, and then they took everything else. No more, world. From now on, the mystic strength of the Green Lantern serves its master, and the world can fend for itself." And he fires a violent green blast of energy into the room, sending bits of equipment flying as we get a close-up of the right shoulder of the coated figure who says,
"Very good, Lantern. You are learning quickly, but that's to be expected. For who can teach the meaning of despair better than the Psycho Pirate?"
and he is revealed, wearing the long coat, the familiar Harlequinesque alternate square uniform of black and red with the theatre masks on the chest and the skull cap. Yes, it's the Psycho Pirate. We haven't seen him for a very long time. Caption reads,
It is not quiet in Gotham this night, but then it rarely is. Particularly for one man who lives to make the sprawling metropolis a safer place. He sits alone in his office tonight, as he does most nights.
And we see a newspaper on a desk. We can also see a pipe and an ashtray nearby. Don't smoke, kids. The headline of the Gotham Globe reads, "Green Lantern goes on rampage. Ex-hero wrecks GBC building." We pull out, see the person reading. The newspaper is in shadow. See a telephone and some fancy pens on his desk as the captioning continues.
But this evening he stares into the shadows he knows so well, searching for answers. Answers that the darkness will not reveal. And suddenly the stillness is broken.
Yes, as a man in a nice blue suit and stripy shirt walks in, bearing a piece of paper, saying, "A telegram, Commissioner, from your ward."
But the interruption lasts only a moment, for he does not reply.
Yes, we see the pipe-smoking gentleman tearing open this envelope. It wasn't a piece of paper, it was an envelope. We can see Western Union written on it. He gets to his feet, relighting his pipe by the looks of things.
Once people wondered why a man who had spent a lifetime at play would surrender his leisure to shoulder such a heavy burden. But they needed him, for their protector had retired, and soon they ceased to wonder why Playboy turned police commissioner, and instead called Bruce Wayne Guardian Angel.
And we get a great shot of Bruce Wayne, with a massive kipper tie, the nice little stud on it, holding his pipe, looking out the window of this tall building, casting a shadow, a bat-shaped shadow behind him.
For though they know it not, the Dark Knight detective still protects the city he loves.
I wonder if this telegram is going to be an instigator, and I wonder if things will ever be the same. Over the page, a caption reads,
But Prudhoe Bay, Alaska has no such guardian, unless one counts the JSA team arriving on the scene.
Yes, we see the Star-Spangled Kid and Power Girl. Star-Spangled Kid surrounded by the golden aura of his cosmic converter belt. And we also see Wildcat has been attached to a big stretch of pipeline. Oh my goodness, we can see Christmas trees in the background, and there's obviously lots of snow, and it's a beautiful pink sky. Probably a nice place to visit, actually. Anyway, we see Ted strapped up. Sylvester says,
"Bingo! I told you we'd find Wildcat, Power Girl."
"Sure. After I've already half frozen to death. Next time you invite me somewhere, kid, make sure there's central heating." Yeah, but they're outside. Why would they have central heating outside?
Maybe that's what the big pipe is.
Sylvester replies,
"Ah, come on, PG. Don't I warm you up, at least a little?"
"You've got to be kidding." And then we're interrupted as the wizard rides in.
"Perhaps your young friend is being humorous, Power Girl, but rest assured I am not. If you wish to rescue Wildcat, first you must defeat me and my enchanted eagles."
Oh my goodness, the wizard's enchanted eagles, they look massive. Obviously, because he's riding on the head of one of them, flying down towards PG and Sylvester. Power Girl says, "I'm glad you said the birds were enchanted, Wiz. Otherwise, I might have worried that I was helping make the American eagle extinct." And we see her jumping down on the head of another eagle, which responds with a squeak as the wizard looks appalled. And Power Girl then bounces over, elbowing Wizard in the throat as she says, "A worry I don't indulge in for bewitched birds, or just plain foul, like you." Wizard cries,
"Brainwave, help!"
And then we see a weird, only word I've got for it, is some sort of large golden exoskeleton type robotic figure, which has a little cockpit in the top that Brainwave is piloting it from. As he arrives in the scene, he swipes right with his fist, striking Power Girl, knocking her away from Wizard as he says, "I should have known better than to trust your feeble magic, Wizard. This exoskeleton intensifier designed is far more reliable and more deadly," and he goes to step on Power Girl. Oh my goodness.
The steel soul slams down with the strength of a giant out of legend. But legends are not all in the past, and one is being written even as we watch, as Power Girl rips apart the exoskeleton, and a star-spangled streak swoops down to finish the job.
Yes, well, there you go. That caption's just done all the heavy lifting. I don't have to tell you what's happening. Brainwave doesn't look too happy, I'll say that much. There's an astonishing view of Power Girl as she looks up at the exoskeleton being shattered, and she says, "Now you show up. I could have handled him by myself. Who said I needed help?"
A little bird told me, Peachy, while I was punching its beak in.
Wizard waves his wand in the next panel, saying,
You celebrate your victory too soon, fools. You have forgotten the wizard's power, and you shall pay for that mistake.
Helpfully, Star Spangled Kid tells us what's going on when he says,
The pipeline, it's coming to life, wrapping around us like a snake.
"We may have forgotten about you, Wizard," yells Power Girl, "but you certainly underestimated us," and she flexes and tears the pipe apart with a sending oil spilling everywhere, which is not healthy. She moves on the Wizard, saying, "And now, O master of mediocre magics, let's settle this once and for all."
No, don't!
As he backs off, Sylvester leaps up towards Wildcat to untie him, saying,
While you take care of him, Power Girl, I'll free Wildcat, and use the cosmic converter to warm him back to consciousness.
Power Girl has taken the Wizard's wand from his hand.
Young lady, my wand! Please, you mustn't do...
She snaps it.
No!
"Sorry, Wiz, that's the way the sorcery splinters. And as for you..." And then we get closer with the Wizard looking very pained, sweat pouring from his brow, his eyes white as he says,
Please! I'll retire, turn stage magician, move to Earth 1, anything!
"Promise her anything, eh? No way, Wizard. That went out with chivalry, and you're going out with a light." And Power Girl flips a finger on his chin with a
Thwap.
sound effect, and he falls backwards as the caption reads.
Surprisingly, though, the wizard will be as good as his word, as regular readers of the Secret Society of Supervillains have already discovered.
Interesting. Timey-wimey. Right. A slow dissolve over the page, a caption.
But that does not concern us at this moment. Instead, let's turn our attention to the epilogue.
Yes, Star Spangled Kid and Power Girl looking at the pipeline, with Power Girl saying, "I wonder why the Injustice Society chose this spot for a showdown. They didn't seem to have any special base here."
Maybe not, but here's something interesting. There's a tap in the pipeline detouring the oil supply, and it looks like it leads straight down to that bottomless pit.
Yes, we can see a few branches of the pipeline coming off the main one, and it's very badly rendered. It's not clear at all. It just looks like a shadow, but indeed it's probably supposed to be a hole in the ground. Power Girl says, both showdowns were set up at oil-related locations. Maybe Brainwave and the Wizard were guarding this tap, and revenge on the JSA was only incidental." In the background, we see Ted Grant as Wildcat recovering, rubbing his head. He says, "Ugh." As Power Girl observes, she says, "Wildcat, he's awake."
Sure, I told you. I'm great at warming people up.
"Enough, Casanova. You're wasting your time. Wildcat, are you ready to take off? Wildcat!" And then they both have to move forward and grab him because he was about to tip into the hole. As they grab his wrists, Power Girl says, "You idiot! You nearly fell into the pit." As Wildcat comes to his senses, he says, "Well, what the heck is it doing here anyway? Someone could get hurt that way." And a very serious Power Girl concludes the issue as she says, "I'm sure the original builders didn't plan for this, Wildcat, and I intend to find out exactly who did, even if it takes us to the centre of the Earth."
And so it will, Power Girl, but that's 60 days in the future, because... Next issue, Green Lantern enslaved by the Psycho Pirate. The fate of Hourman. And the mystery of Middle-earth unleashed in The Attack of the Underlord. On sale April 26th, if you can stand the wait.
And yes, listeners, on that mild cliffhanger, we will leave the JSA before we return to them again at some point in the future, before not too long, probably, but we will see some more of the Icicle very soon, don't you worry. Well then, Pete, what do you think of that?
That was lots of fun and lots of action, but I must admit, the Injustice Society, what was their game plan?
Yeah,
They had him on the ropes back at JSA headquarters, and then they say, "Oh, come and meet us at these locations, and we'll ambush you." And it's like, well, why?
Yeah.
You already captured and defeated 2 JSAers. Madness.
Yeah, and then when they get to the other locations, they're taken out without any trouble whatsoever. Really, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a fight, but they are taken out completely. I mean, what was the point of that whole big exoskeleton thing?
Yeah.
That Brainwave is operating that is taken out in the space of 3 panels.
That's quite fun. That reminded me of, remember the time in Marvel Comics when MODOK got a giant exoskeleton and fought the Hulk? And it basically just made his head kind of like the right size sort of thing.
Rings a bell, yes.
That was something, yeah, that I really enjoyed. That was in the UK reprints back in the early 80s. I remember that vividly from then.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem a little unrehearsed, I think maybe is the word for the... You know, did they have phase 1 worked out, but they didn't have phase 2 worked out? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We should say, obviously, this issue features the debut of Joe Staton.
Yes.
As penciler. And Bob Layton working on it as well. Bob Layton, one of my favourite artists at Marvel. Big fan of Bob. X Factor was never the same after he left. Stylistically, this is a complete 180 from what we've had in the last couple of issues from Wally Wood.
Okay.
Staton, I've always said, with no disrespect, is much more in the sort of cartoonist sort of ballpark, I think,
Sure.
than Wood. This is all a lot smoother, a lot brighter, bigger, much more fast-paced than what we've had the last couple of issues, a lot less denser, a lot easier to get through. A real palpable difference, I think. And Joe Staton hangs around for the duration, basically.
Pretty much, yeah,
Yeah, all change.
Yeah, I mean, that initial fight from the GSA and the ISA in the headquarters, you've got like great poses from the wizard. He's like doing a dramatic lunge forward as he casts his wand up in the air. It just looks brilliant. Icicles posing as he's firing his gun, freezing Hawkman mid-air, and it's just great imagery. The look in Star Spangled Kid's face when Power Girl gets zapped, utter shock. It's really nice, as you said, great cartooning. It's very good for storytelling. It makes everything flow really quickly.
It's very different to the sort of almost cinematic shots that we're getting from Hollywood. You know, there's no real need for a lot of the captions in this because the storytelling really tells you what's going on. A lot of the time I felt that, especially in the last issue we did, was that here were some illustrations and the captions were telling you what was happening. And, you know, it was almost like illustrated prose in some ways, where this feels much more like a comic. It's a lot more dynamic.
Yeah.
The dialogue is a lot lighter and a bit more dynamic, again, repetition, buzz. But, you know, it's a lot more fluid. Yeah. With no disrespect to Wally Wood, obviously. You know, don't come at me, bros.
Yeah, Joe's artwork kind of reminds me a bit of Ramona Fraden, to be honest, who's doing Super Friends now. And again, just fantastic storytelling, lovely cartooning. You get emotion, you get action. The story's told brilliantly. It's great fun. And as you said, there is a lot of captioning. Looking at some pages, it eats up big chunks of the page, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's not quite Chris Claremont level, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
The structure of the story is quite interesting, starting in the middle of the action and then doing a flashback.
Yeah.
But it's very weird because obviously the flashback, Superman arrives with them outside JSA. Now, if they'd arrived inside JSA headquarters, Superman would have been there for the action. And I think the ISA would have been taken down fairly easily.
Yeah, and during the recording, we sort of thought, hang on, Superman jumps off and then straight away Jay goes into phase through the wall, as it were, and everything kicks off. Surely Superman would have heard this.
Maybe Earth 2 super hearing's not quite as powerful as Earth 1 super hearing.
Yeah, Logopolis. I mean, that made me laugh in retrospect, but it's interesting that when we see them in the space of 3 speech bubbles, we dispense completely with everything that has gone on in the last couple of issues. You know, after the slow build of the Shining Knight being sort of hinted at, you know, with buying that potion from the man in the bazaar and then being sighted, and maybe for the benefit of YouTube viewers, being sighted up in the air by the Flash and Green Lantern, and then being brought in and helping everyone when they go back to fight King Arthur and Merlin, and then disappearing. It's just sort of, all right, he's written off. It makes me think actor availability might have been an issue after the mid-season break. Do you know what I mean? Or was this issue done during COVID so that Shining Knight couldn't make it for this episode or for the reshoots, you know?
It's like Dodo's departure in Doctor Who. There and suddenly gone. Okay.
Yeah, or Captain Jack's non-appearance at the end of the one Doctor Who New Year's special that he came back in, or Nathan's friend Donna being written out of Queer Folk Series 2 very quickly. It really gives a sense of Levitz is like, right, I'm done with everything that was set up that I had to deal with. I'm moving on, I'm doing my own stuff now.
One of the few things that he's left with is the Green Lantern subplot, which he's dedicating the page to that to move that on slightly.
Yes.
And also a second page with the introduction of Commissioner Bruce Wayne.
Yes, but before that, obviously, Dr. Fate is fully recovered, having a mild row with Inza before he goes back into battle. And before we see Bruce Wayne, we see the return of Robin to the pages for the first time in a while. And I think some of the letters we'd done previously had commented on this. Nice to see that Earth 2 South Africa is obviously the closest spot to Abu Dhabi where they've got a hospital.
Yes, that was quite amusing. Also, I think it's quite funny that Dr. Fate seems to have forgotten that he's also a fully qualified medical doctor.
Yes, this is true. And that Dick Grayson is kicking about in full Robin costume in the hospital, just to offset the fact that some superheroes have arrived and they want to keep Hourman's secret identity secret, probably. Yes. A bit messy there, a wee bit scrappy, but it's really nice to see Robin. After the first couple of issues, as we were told, because Teen Titans has been revived at this point, they didn't want to cause confusion by having too much Robin going on. So it's nice to see him at least turn up for a couple of panels.
That's
and
true.
Really cool to see Bruce Wayne as well. That's fascinating.
I think it would have been better if they'd actually approached Robin as Dick Grayson, US Ambassador, as opposed to standing there in his full Robin costume.
Agreed, strongly.
It's bizarre that they went for that. Obviously, it's for audience recognition sort of thing, but as far as story goes, it makes more sense if it was just literally Dick Grayson standing there as opposed to Robin standing there.
No, I agree. One thing we didn't mention the full-page advertisement for the new full-colour King Kong giant poster book, because this is around the time the King Kong remake came out. And we didn't mention the full-page house ad for issue 1 of Shade the Changing Man. So, listeners, obviously, because he's called Shade the Changing Man, you can look out for us doing issue 1 of that in the near future.
Yes, we're looking forward to jumping into that mad Steve Ditko fest at some point soon. That'll be quite good, yeah.
Yes.
We've got to talk about the Wizard.
Yes, of course.
And his declaration, please, retire, turn stage magician, move to Earth 1, anything. I mean, that's brilliant. The caption saying, the Wizard will be as good as his word as Secret Society of Supervillains readers will know. Now, looking at the dates, this is absolutely fascinating because this issue came out on
the 22nd of February.
Yep, 22nd of February 1977. And Secret Society of Supervillains issue 1 came out on the 19th of February the previous year.
Outstanding.
Over a year before. That's insane. And this is them setting up now. So this story is actually set a year before in the continuity that we're currently reading. That's nuts.
Secret Society almost exists on its own because, as we said, Darkseid is seemingly killed off halfway through issue 5.
Yeah.
But then Return of the New Gods makes no reference to that whatsoever, and they admit on a letters page that I found that they'd gooned that, that they should have been paying attention. It's obviously a retcon. Someone's obviously thought, maybe after the fact, right, we're using the Wizard in this story. Oh, wait a minute, he's been in Secret Society since last year. Okay, we'll just maybe, we're obviously doing the stories as we read them in a loose sort of publication order.
Yeah.
And it's a while since we started. It's nearly a year ago, actually, since we started Secret Society ourselves.
I mean, at the time this story was published, Secret Society of Supervillains issue 7 was in the stands, because that came out on the 1st of February 1977. I mean, that's how far ahead they were, because obviously it was bi-monthly.
Right, 3 weeks before this one. That's insane. Yeah. And I think the next issue of Secret Society we'll be doing, of course, is issue 6, which will be long before too long.
I'll be looking forward to that one, me hearties.
Yes, we are, and a couple of people are on standby. I think that's probably it for JSA 66. The cover was good, not a Defenders 39 situation at all by any stretch.
No, it was a very good cover, yes. Although they weren't defending Wildcat, they were defending Hourman, because it said, Wildcat lives in the...
Yeah, the caption is true, though, because it did feature some members of the JSA battling for Wildcat's life. They just chose not to show that.
And they didn't choose to mention Hourman either.
I know.
Poor Rex. They just don't care about Rex in this.
Yes, I was very annoyed about that.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought Wildcat was a better draw to mention on the cover rather than Hourman. He's been a regular Brave and the Bold co-star and all that sort of stuff.
Very true. So we'll jump ahead now to issue 6 to 8 for All-Star Comments. And the first letter says, Folks, I've just got to say congratulations on All-Star 66. You have gone from good to better to best with this magazine. I noticed the change in the artists' names. Are Stanton and Leighton pronounced as a rhyming pair? And style. But I also noticed there was absolutely no diminishing of the high standard of quality instituted by Wally Wood. If this change is to be permanent, I wholeheartedly approve. The plotting has gone the same way as the artwork, ever upward. The unfolding side plots that become major with time have made All-Star most pleasing as far as plot continuity goes. I'm looking forward to seeing the Green Lantern Psycho Pirates Commissioner Wayne confrontation. And finally, someone has realised that the Justice Society of America headlines All-Star Comics. With that name as cover logo, the magazine really shows its true character. I am now more than ever looking forward to the day when All-Star goes to the all-new 50 cents format. For at least 8 issues a year, and preferably 12, I hope the sales in the 29th issue of DC Special show it warranted. And that's from Michael E. Carullo from Rolla, Missouri.
Rolla, Missouri, Steve, you know what to do. Is that anywhere near you? I'm sure I'll hear from you very soon on that fact. Editorial response. We hope so too, Michael, and we'd like to remind JSA fans the untold origin epic of the world's first super team is finally being revealed in a 34-page mind-blowing novel, still on sale at most newsstands in the form of DC Special 29, courtesy of All-Stars, Levitz, Staten and Layton, who are indeed a rhyming pair, but a pair of what we wouldn't dare say so. Staten and Layton, there you go. And indeed, we will be covering DC Special 29 before you can say Jack Robinson. And the next letter goes like this. All-Star Group. I feel a bit silly writing you a letter that I'm sure will echo a multitude of others you will no doubt receive. You've made a serious mistake in your choice of artist for this book.
Gasp.
Joe Staten is a very good artist in his place, but his place is not in All-Star. Oh. In the short history of the revival, you have had 3 different pencilers, pre-66, yet looking over the issues, they all looked basically the same. They had continuity. Just what makes 66 unacceptable, I'll leave for others to tell you. But the point I'm trying to make is that it was unnecessary. Wally Wood has had several young artists working as assistants for him over the years who are very good artists in their own right. Ralph Reese, Roger Brand, Wayne Howard, to name a few. Any one of them could have preserved this book's refreshing continuity. And that Grumpy Chops letter is from S. Deach, Columbus Avenue, White Plains, New York. White Plains, of course, had a massive hit with the song My Baby Loves Lovin'. That might be tonight's Good Night song on Facebook. Editorial response reads,
At last count, Woody has had some 50 assistants, no less than 3 of whom are presently connected with All-Star. Our covers are regularly coloured by Miss Tatiana Wood. The magazine is edited by Joe Orlando, or the fandom forgotten the Orlando Wood classics of EC days. And inker Bob Layton is one of the most recent graduates of Woody's informal school. So we did turn to a former woodsman for a bit of continuity, although very few of our readers were disturbed by the change. In fact, yours was one of only 3 letters that had serious objection to our new art team.
I think that guy's been unnecessarily harsh on Joe Staten, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a different art style, but as we've discussed, it tells the story. It's very cartoony. The expressions are great. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I didn't have any complaints at all. Very dynamic, a nice contrast rather than a total horror show like that guy seemed to think. Anyway.
And a bit of continuity from DC Special 29, which we will be covering, as we have said. So yes, the final letter says, Dear folks, upon opening my copy of All-Star Comics 66, I was unpleasantly surprised to learn that Wally Wood was no longer working on the book. His efforts, together with those of Paul Levitz, have made this one of my favourite DC comics. The fast-paced competence of those tales compared favourably with the 40 scripts by Gardner Fox and John Broome, and the artwork was good beyond hope. How I wondered, would the Justice Society fare without him? After reading Injustice Strikes Twice, I must admit that the answer to that question is pretty darn good. A talent like Wally's is so big that it's really useless to call the person who takes up where he left off a replacement. Wally Wood is, in fact, irreplaceable. That doesn't mean, however, that another artist or artists can't step in and do a fine job in their own right, and that's exactly what Joe Staten and Bob Layton did this time out. They held on to some of Woody's innovations, but there is no question that they were portraying the JSA in their own style, which is how it should be. As for the writing, Paul Levitz's story was no letdown either. The structure of the first few pages was especially sound, the JSA stumbling into an ambush at their own headquarters and then proceeding to fight their villainous counterparts all over the world, being a true inspiration. Also enjoyable was Dr. Fate's conflict with himself. A desirable holdover from first issue special. Add to that the mysterious finish and the Power Girl Star Spangled Kid verbal sniping, and you've got a real winner on your hands. The last thing to be said in favour of the issue has nothing to do with the story or art. At long last, the Super Squad logo is gone, and the words Justice Society of America are up there in big bold letters. Fantastic, so says Edward B. Villa from Roanoke, Virginia.
Editorial response ignores that, actually. It just reads, we'd like to close out the page with a department of unheralded efforts. Paul Kuperberg pitched in and scripted page 13 through page 16 of All-Star 65 to help Paul Levitz, then labouring under a nasty writer's block. That's the pages when basically Vandal and Superman are fighting and Star Spangled Kid rescues Power Girl and has the whole Superman doing his Pillars of Samson type thing. So in case you're wondering, listeners, that's what those pages were. Right. Our deepest appreciation to Paul, naturally, and if you enjoyed his ghost appearance, we suggest you look up his solo flight on the Aqualad story in the current issue of Adventure Comics. Well,
there we are.
Right, listeners, the icicle has been lurking in the pages of All-Star Comics the last few issues, stepping into centre stage in this one we've just finished, and you may be delighted to know that he'll be back next week. Which comic we'll be reading, you'll have to find out next week. Pete, say, what should people do if they're frustrated at me not telling them what comic the icicle's in next week?
You can email us at theF2podcast@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on social media because we're putting up lots of lovely bonus material for this and, of course, every episode. On Facebook, Instagram and Blue Sky, we're at the Earth 2 Podcast. And on Twitter, we're at podcast_Earth2. And it's the number 2 for all of our socials.
It certainly is. If you're enjoying the show, please consider going to wherever it is you receive your podcasts and leaving us a positive review. That would be lovely. Or you could consider finding your way to our coffee page via our link tree and buying Peter the price of a beverage. I'm sure he would appreciate it.
On that bombshell, I've been Peter.
And I've been David. We'll see you in 7 days on the Earth 2 Podcast.
Transmatter Cube activated. Return coordinates set for Earth Prime.
Prudhoe Bay, Alaska. Alaska for you.
Alaska. Oh, we're off to Alaska. Do you think Kelly wants to do Black Canary's voice again? Hold on, an Alaska.